And keep it going for Neshama Franklin.
What an amazing, exhilarating evening so far, I think. Now, weddings, you'd assume that that's a form of celebration. Not in my family. I mean, they have nothing against weddings, but they don't know how to celebrate. They're first generation, striving, upper middle class people, and they're trying to do it right, and they don't know how to do it right. And I was going to be married at 19. It was not a shotgun wedding. It actually came about through the back door. I had met my husband-to-be at my place of work, which was the registrar's office of Columbia University. And I was virtually unemployable, but an old nanny who had risen in the world had gotten me this job. And I wore peasant blouses with no bra and leaned over the Xerox machine. And I think that's how I snagged him. But in any case, we lived together. In the mid-50s, people didn't do that. And we tried to cover it up by coming in different entrances to the registrar's office, but nobody was fooled, especially old nannies. And every time I passed her desk, she would look up and she said, well, when are you going to get married? It's time to get married. And so John and I were sitting on the Palisades above the Hudson River. And I said, Amelie says we should get married. What do you think? And he said, it never even occurred to me, you want to get married? I mean, this was not, on the knee with the ring. But I found myself saying, surprisingly, yes. And that started the juggernaut of my parents making this wedding, which they weren't good at. But, the first thing I needed was a dress. It was off-white because of my impure state. And there were, the shoes dyed to match, pinchy satin. And then who would marry us? Because I was a non-practicing Jew and he was a non-practicing Christian. But my father had connected with ethical culture, which is a weird religion. It has very high ideals and no dogma. And so we got this ethical culture minister. And where did it take place? In my parents' living room, taupe, floor to ceiling, overlooking Central Park West, full of folding chairs, but no music. They never even occurred to them. And the whole reason that this was happening, it was for them, it wasn't for us. They wanted the marriage, it's for society. We were already deeply, weirdly wedded. But it was happening. And so there we were, standing in front of this guy saying, God knows what to us. I don't think either of us could hear it. But we were both trembling because we knew, I could feel it in the air between us, because we knew how important this step was. And then we kissed and that part was over, and then there was the party. My parents don't know how to party, but we were in my room, which I call the scene of the crime because I was a very bad girl growing up. It had drapes with kind of paranoid-looking Paul-Clade eyes all over them. And the kids, I was 19, and he was 8 years older, but kind of wet behind the ears. And our friends, we drank a lot, uproariously. And the grown-ups were all in the dining room, which had no window, but a lot of heavy honey-colored Biedermeier furniture, and they stuffed their faces. That was the party. And then I put on a going-away outfit, if you can believe it, with a girdle and hat and gloves and a suit. And we got into my parents' convertible and drove up to Connecticut, to Fox Hill Inn. My mother had wrangled this for us. And we parked and we got out and we walked up the curving romantic staircase, and our room had twin beds. But it didn't make any difference. This wedding was for them. And for all that we went through, 35 years until death did us part. And the thing about the wedding is it's only one day, and every one of those complicated in and out, up and down 35 years, that was the celebration.